Hello friend, in this lecture we will discuss on the href attribute of the anchor element. So friend, let's start. The href attribute specifies the URL or the address of the web page or the target destination to which the hyperlink will take us to. Now please note, unless and until we use the href attribute in the opening anchor tag, the content between the opening anchor tag and a closing anchor tag will not be appearing as an hyperlink. That is, if the href attribute is not present, then the content of the anchor element is not at all an hyperlink. Thus, for the content of an anchor element to be considered as an hyperlink, mandatorily we must use the href attribute inside the opening anchor tag, and it is absolutely fine if we have not specified any value for this href attribute. But in this case, when user clicks on the hyperlink, the page will just get refreshed and will land back on the same page. Now, this entire scenario we have just demonstrated in our previous lecture. But what important that I have to discuss in this lecture are the various possible value that an href attribute can have. The first value that an href attribute can have is an absolute URL. That is, the href attribute can have an absolute URL as the value, and this is used when we want to navigate to some external website on click of the hyperlink. For example, here I have an anchor element and the content of this anchor element is Google Map. Then inside the opening anchor tag I have an href attribute with the value as https www.google.co.in/map. Your https www.google.co.in/map is an external website. The second value for the href attribute can be a relative URL. Now here href attribute can have relative URL as the value, and this is used when we want to navigate to a file or a page within the website or within the same website. For example, I will be having multiple pages in a single website and I want to navigate from one web page to the other web page. So by using this relative URL as a value of the href attribute, we can navigate from one page to the other page within the same website. For example, here we have an anchor element inside which I have the content as contacts, and inside the opening anchor tag we have an href attribute and the value of which is contacts.html. Here contacts.html is a page within the same website. Now the href attribute can have a value as an ID of some other element within the same HTML page, and this is used when we want to navigate from one part of the page to the other part of the same HTML page just by clicking on the hyperlink. Now please note, the component ID must be unique here. For example, whatever ID we will be specifying as the value for the href attribute, that has to be unique in that HTML page. So if we consider in this example, as soon as user clicks on go to introduction hyperlink, it will take us to that component which has ID as p1. The href attribute can also have many other values like mail to, FTP, etc. Thus, for example, the href attribute can have a value as an email address with a specified subject, body, etc. And this is used when we want to open a mailbox and pre-populate the email address, subject, body, etc. on click of that hyperlink. For example, here I have an anchor element where the content is sent email. Now as soon as user clicks on send email, it will open the mailbox and will populate the to email address with abc@xyz.com and will set the subject as hello again. Also, the href attribute can have a value as a JavaScript statement, and this is used when we want to execute the JavaScript statement on click of the hyperlink. For example, here I have an anchor element and the content of this anchor element is invoke JavaScript. So when user clicks on this invoke JavaScript hyperlink, it will call a JavaScript statement which is specified as a value for this href attribute, and it will simply throw an alert with a message as hello world. So these are the various possible value that an href attribute of an anchor element can have. Please don't worry about all this value of the href attribute. We have a separate dedicated lecture explaining each of these value in details. So the purpose of this lecture is to give you a brief idea about all the possible values that an href attribute of an anchor element can have. Thank you for watching.